Conversation, live from Nicaragua. Dive deep into the world of coffee with co-founders of Twin Engine Coffee, Andrea Wolverton and Colin Ganley.
Welcome to Brewing Conversation, Season 0, Episode 8. My name is Andrea Wolverton.
And I'm Colin Ganley, and today we're answering a question that has been asked to us many times. Where did the name Twin Engine Coffee come from? And I should make a point of clarification, since this is an audio podcast, that whenever you look at one of our packages, you'll see a twin engine float plane that looks like it was from the days of adventuring explorers coming to Nicaragua and needing some sort of really versatile transportation, not only to get here, but also to find a place to land. And so you'll see on the package it says Twin Engine Coffee, and it's got a picture of this twin engine float plane.
That's right. So it's a fun story, not a very long one, but quite organic. I mean, the nitty-gritty is when we did settle on coffee, we started thinking, So originally the idea was to have a much more narrowly focused, it was one of the ideas on the table. So with cigar lovers and more pairing and more specific pairing for that. And then we were like, we really wanted a brand that could reflect what we were doing in a much broader sense. What we were doing, what we felt or we feel is connection.
Yeah, connection is the key behind the airplane. And it's maybe not obvious, so we'll explain why do we feel like an airplane represents connection. The thing is, we're here in Nicaragua. You're probably not if you're listening to this. But we can take the best of what's here, in this case, the coffee, and get it to you in its best form rapidly. And so what we're trying to do is connect the coffee drinker, wherever they are, with the terroir, the place, all the great things about being here, including the coffee. And
vice versa, and really creating lines of communication between coffee drinkers and the coffee producing country and who we work with, and we bring groups in from outside, and so it came about. I mean, we arrived in Nicaragua. We were in the first house we rented here, first 6 months. And so when was this? This was a few months in. And so we were having one of these epic pre-child brainstorming sessions. So,
one of the only good things that came out of that house.
Yeah.
Andrea hated that house.
Orange walls and so hot. I just wanted white walls on everything after living there. It was pretty hard to focus.
I came down a month before Andrea did, and my goal was to have a house, a car, and a refrigerator full of food when she arrived, so that when she came in, that she'd be comfortable. And so,
which you did. You did a really nice job.
So I found this house that I thought was more than we needed. It had 2 or 3 bedrooms or something like that, and so I got it all set up. There was furniture, there was food in the refrigerator, etc. And within a couple months, we realized that the house was so poorly designed that it was
for the climate.
It was an oven. There was not enough airflow going through the house, and so you had to basically run air conditioners nonstop, which is really expensive here. So the house was a total disaster. However, when we were there,
Twin Engine Coffee was born.
Baking inside the house, we started to talk about what could represent this idea of connection and give people a sense of what Nicaragua is like in kind of a romanticized image.
And historical and adventure. I mean, let's be real. This definitely is kind of a modern day adventure. And so the float planes were used. I mean, it's funny because if you go into, I believe it's the Miami airport, there's some really nice historical pictures of some of these first flights to Central America and the Caribbean. And these planes were used to do that, to connect, to be some of the first modern explorers. I mean, post-plane invention, obviously. But as Colin was saying, being versatile. And we wanted to create a beautiful image. Nicaragua's history kind of got stuck a little bit in the 80s in some people's minds, even though that was almost 40 years ago. And And so we wanted a beautiful image that everyone could relate to. And Colin has a background in a pilot's license and a background in aviation. And we got here because of seeing a lot of the world. And that is what has led us here. And so I don't remember some of the early, I think we also started talking a lot about like trying to brainstorm what could be that symbol. And so propeller and just different aspects of aviation. And so there's two of us. So, because there's also a single engine float plane.
Sure.
Probably more pictures of those that we found out that are a little bit harder to find.
Yeah. And we wanted something that could become iconic, an image where when somebody saw it, they would say, oh, that's twin engine. So we wanted something like that, but we also wanted it to have a meaning, a deep meaning to us, not just some random thing that somebody created. And so the idea of the airplane is both this idea of connection, but also the fact that it's the two of us who are pulling together, just like the two engines on the airplane do, to make this whole thing happen. That was the other sort of concept with making it twin engine.
Yeah, so it's been funny or fun, I guess, to hear. We probably don't, maybe we should write more on our website about this, but people draw their own conclusions. And some of the more touchy-feely ones have been people have written in and say, I remember. So I'm thinking of one of the producers in Matagalpa whose father and grandfather, I believe, had one of these planes. And they're like, I remember my grandpa landing at the coffee farm in one of these farms. And these kind of stories are really lovely to hear because it touches exactly upon this vintage connection idea. But then there's also people like, oh, twin engine, that must mean because it's like super, super strong coffee, right? Like it starts both of your engines. So it's fun what they associate with it as well.
Yeah, and coming up with a brand name without putting your name on it, but still having it be personal is really a challenging thing. So at some point, we were tossing around a few different ideas. I don't really remember what any of the other ideas were at this point. But at some point, we just had to jump, just say,
right,
all right.
Which is a scary jump.
I think this is a good enough idea. I think it could work. Should we just do it?
Yeah. I mean, it leads, I guess there's a little bit of a segue there to a side dynamic is that most of the coffee brands that would be made in Nicaragua are named after some family's farm,
right.
Or the grandpa or something, because like there aren't a large proportion of people who have coffee farms. So most people don't have any ownership in coffee. And so part of what we also were trying to say, and what we say a lot in our trainings here, is that this isn't our family's coffee farm. We didn't inherit a coffee farm. We're here and we are trying to bring Nicaragua's best coffee, your coffee, when we're talking to Nicaraguans. And so it's also a brand that you don't have to be part of the family to love. You can love what it stands for and get behind that. And so that was another thing that is to differentiate in the local coffee community as well as international coffee community, something that you didn't have to be an owner to be able to love it and feel the connection and the principles behind it.
Yeah. So that's the story behind the naming of Twin Engine Coffee. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
This has been Brewing Conversation with Andrea Wolverton and Colin Ganley. Thank you for listening. For more connection to coffee and Twin Engine Coffee, go to twinenginecoffee.com or email us. We'd love to hear from you.